Twin panel.
The house, the people around, and what you know, how you put it all together. And to me, I think it's just awesome. we're gonna do a 3D hotspot there for sure. But the way it all came about was amazing. I'm sorry.
Well, the way it came about is that Sherry and I were living down in South Florida for her business. And she had started up and kept her original business. She started up here and started up another business. And then it didn't work out for her. And she was down there for 2 years. I was down there for a year and a half. And we both wanted to come back home because South Florida is not for us. And people were nice, but it's just not for us. Too busy, too crowded.
Where were you? Miami, Fort Lauderdale?
We were in Broward County, which is the same as Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, that's a different
But
world.
we were at the in a town, little area in Broward County called Miramar, which is right next to the Everglades.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this stuff that's happened to me since 5, that's been following me around my whole life. I go on vacation, sometimes things happen. I live down there, things happen and stuff like that. But the way we got to this house started in 1992. And Sherry and I got married in March of 92. And on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of January, I had 3 dreams. All 3 dreams elicited a different emotional response, with the last one being pulling the covers over my head and saying, maybe they won't come and get me this time. And then and that was January 1992 on those 3 dates. On February, I had the same 3 dreams on the same 3 dates. And on our honeymoon, the last day of our honeymoon, I had the dream on the 15th. And I it was just instinct, pull the covers over my head like I did as a child, and it woke Sherry up. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just had that dream." Well, these dreams lasted for 4.5 years.
Ooh.
The last month was July 1996, and they all involved at the first, and they all, the same valley, the same geographical location, the whole 9 yards. And there was white in the first dream. There was white houses and some white houses and white fences and lights that was a single white light that split into 8 and then the 8 became multicolor and came up the valley floor towards me, and the dream would always end. The lights would be halfway up the valley when the dream would end. Then the second dream was at a party outside somebody's house overlooking this valley, and I didn't like the place where I was, the party, because I couldn't see anybody's faces. I could see all their bodies, but general abduction thing, I just couldn't see faces. They were blank. And I walked through the front yard and down these steps, and there's the light starting again. And so then the third dream on the 15th was I'm in a cinder block building, one door, single door, and no windows, no furniture, nothing. And there's an orange glow coming under the door. And the orange glow is like talking to me, saying, "Come out, come out, come out." And I'm going, "No, I'm not coming out. I don't like you. I don't trust you, blah, blah, blah." And so the next thing I know, I'm outside, and I'm standing in the same valley, but the valley, instead of being green and lush and all that stuff, it looked like it had been devastated. The ground looked like it was sand, trees, just no trees anymore, no green grass. The hills on either side were devastated. And the orange glow was all around them 360 degrees, and so were the lights. And this time, it wasn't to start up from a single light to 8 and then multicolored. They were all around me. And they were talking to me. And that's when I awakened and I couldn't understand what they're saying, and they're waking. Now, go up to 2003. My mother calls us. She has ovarian cancer. We said, and it gets expensive moving a house and a business. So we said, heck with that. We're going back home. Even though I have 3 brothers and sister-in-laws and lots of nieces and nephews, we're going back home. And so we came up, and we were going to come up every weekend for about 2 months till we sold our home down there to buy our dream lot to build our dream house. And this is the one where this is the house I'm going to die in, because I'm not going to move again. I hate moving.
That's a nice house, too, by the way.
Well, the house is actually too big for us. Now, we have 2 black labs. We've had 2 black labs, and so,
Now, I don't want to stop you. I don't want to stop you on your journey there. I got to get you back to it. We got about 2 minutes before we wrap it up this hour. So
okay.
I don't want to mess. I want to make sure you get there.
But we bought a lot. The first lot we saw, we bought it. We didn't have to come back up again. And about 9 months and 5 months after we arrived back home, which was about 6 months, they broke ground on the house, and about 9 months into the building process, I had the dogs, one of the labs over here, and we were running around. I was over here for a couple hours, and then when I came, we were leaving to go back to the rental house. We had rented out to stay until our house was finished. All of a sudden, I slammed on my brakes. We had built our house, and it didn't even dawn on me, in the same geographical location of those 3 dreams.
Mm.
And we broke ground in 2005. And from then on, it's been a fun ride. Crazy ride, scary ride sometimes, but a fun ride. I mean, and all the weird stuff.
And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back, is all that weird stuff that he's got that's going on there. And something else that he'll bring up, again, it's just a Southern thing. We just keep talking and we enjoy it. And sometimes just as the radio broadcaster, you got to go, let's get back to those really cool things that you want to make sure you say. I'm here to help. So more from Sandy. You're going to hear something really unique that they did that may prove to be some of the reasons, part of it, why they get this activity. So more to come with Sandy Nichols, me, Connie Willis, and you're listening to Coast AM.
I'm sure you're going to get a bunch of emails saying handle your form. Okay, just to let you know, I agree with that. So you don't have to bother. Bill, don't waste your time. Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
Want a new set of wheels without spending hours at car dealerships? Download the Roto app. That's R-O-D-O. You can browse thousands of vehicles from your phone, buy a car in minutes, and even have it delivered. Plus, Roto finds every discount available, so you know you're always getting the best price, with no hidden fees. Listen, if you're ready to buy a car, make it easy on yourself and go with Roto. Download the Roto app now or check out roto.com. That's ROTO.com.
I'm avoiding the chaos of Black Friday by having someone else do my shopping. So, Mom, here's my list. And now, the top 5 reasons to visit Morongo. Number 5.
Feathers of Fortune. Just earn 500 points on your rewards card, and you're guaranteed to win up to $100 in cash or a free slot play. Wednesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Number 4.
Game day giveaway. You can win a meal or even concert tickets when you watch football Sundays and Thursdays at Sideline Bar.
3.
Thanksgiving Essentials giveaway. Get a healthy air fryer when you earn 500 points on your rewards card, the 22nd or 23rd.
And the number 2.
We'll flash up to $100 in your table pot when any football team scores. Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays in the poker room.
And the number 1 reason.
Relax on Thanksgiving and leave the fun to us. To order your feast, call 866-234-7006.
Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Morongo. Good times.
I had 3 cousins pass away from COVID-19.
One of them I was very close with. This guy taught me how to get on the line as a football player. What I think people risk, las queridas, whether it's death, whether it's their own life or the people that are around. Take it from me, the vaccine saves lives. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Your vaccine for stupidity.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. It's time for your morning wake-up call. And now, here's Jennifer Jones-Lee.
Well, good morning. What do you think about wildly hot weekends? It's November. Just throwing it out there. I'm a little bit upset with Mother Nature because I threw it out there last week. Like, hey, Mother Nature, FYI, it's November. Apparently, you know who doesn't listen to Wake Up Call. Because it was 93 at one point yesterday in Rancho Cucamonga. And I thought to myself, well, cool, as in, yay, as in Nido, California, we get great weather. 93 in November, meh, maybe a little much. Anyway, we'll drop into the 80s today. We'll be back into the 70s for highs later on this week. So, who knows, maybe she listened after all. Here's what's just ahead on your wake-up call. Gas prices in California keep going up. We set a record. Aren't we lucky? 5:05, we'll talk with ABC's Karen Travers after months of negotiations. The president is expected to sign the bipartisan infrastructure bill at the White House today. I'll give you a preview, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty with Karen in just a few minutes. Also, closing arguments will be given today in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and we'll have a little bit on that as well. Especially, we'll talk with ABC's Jim Ryan later in the show. And this story blew me away. Food banks coordinating the agency Feeding America now says up to 160,000 active duty military members are having trouble feeding their families. We'll get into that as well. So let's start with some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm telling you a story that you already know if you drive. Gas prices in California just keep going up. In fact, in LA County, the average price of self-serve regular unleaded gas is now $4.67 a gallon. $4.67. That is 21 cents more than a month ago, and $1.52.5 more than it was a year ago. The highest recorded price now is $4.70 a gallon. That was set in 2012. I don't want to hit that again. Do you? President Biden is due to sign his $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. That's expected to be into law today. ABC's Faith Abube says it's the biggest federal investment in the nation's infrastructure in more than a decade.
White House officials touting the $1.2 trillion bill as a vehicle for creating millions of new jobs and growing the economy.
We'll get the nitty-gritty on that when we talk with Karen Travers in just a few minutes. A Southern California environmental group has criticized Governor Newsom for signing up California as a second-tier member of the International Alliance to End Reliance on Fossil Fuels. California is now an associate member of Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance. Spokesperson for Food and Water Watch, Jessica Gable, says that's because Newsom still hasn't banned oil and gas drilling.
It is a good thing to commit to getting rid of fossil fuels, but words without action don't mean much.
Gable says their group and others want Newsom to ban all fossil fuel permits. Closing arguments will be given today in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. ABC's Jim Ryan gives us a preview and says attorneys for both sides have one more chance to make their case before the jury starts to deliberate.
Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't dispute killing 2 men and wounding a third during civil unrest that followed the police shooting of a black man in the city. What the jury will have to decide is whether the then 17-year-old was the victim of the trouble or the cause of it.
Attorneys for the prosecution and for the defense will have 2.5 hours each for closing arguments. Well, the wealth gap in California appears to be on the minds of many people.
A recent survey from the Public Policy Institute of California found that nearly 70% of Californians say the gap between the rich and the poor in their area is growing. The survey also found that 62% of Californians say their money situation today is the same it was a year ago. Lower-income people in the state are more likely to say they are worse off financially now than they were last year. Those same people say it would be difficult to pay for a $1,000 emergency. Blake Trolley, KFI News.
Food banks coordinating with the agency Feeding America now say up to 160,000 active duty military members are having trouble feeding their families. A spokesman for Feeding America says they estimate 29% of troops in the most junior enlisted ranks have faced food insecurity in the last year. They say contributing factors are the modest pay for junior enlisted ranks and frequent moves that are part of military life. And police in Britain say they are treating an explosion in a taxi outside a hospital that killed a man as a terrorist attack. They say an improvised explosive device, an IED, was used in yesterday's explosion in Liverpool. A male passenger in the taxi died and the driver was hurt. 3 men have been arrested under the UK's Terrorism Act. Right, when we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Karen Travers about the president signing his infrastructure bill today. But right now, it's a hello to Nick Pagliocchini.
Good morning, Jen. Checking out the drive this go-around, or first go-around, actually. Getting to the industry area and Hockey and Heights on the eastbound side out of the 60. It looks like there's a couple of cars that got into it. At least one of them is still involved here, and it looks like the right lane is partially blocked near the Medusa Avenue off-ramp on the eastbound side of the 60. So that's backing you up first thing this morning as you come away from Hockey and the Boulevard. Got an update on this or anything else slowing down your drive? Time to pick you on the cell phone. Keyword KFI traffic. Eastbound side of the 10 San Bernardino Freeway as an alternate to the 60 east. Looks good for your drive right now as you come away from the 605 heading towards the 57. As per usual, 91 westbound, Ursa to Corona, going to be heavy stretches of slowing to start things out from before La Sierra. Actually, we'll take it back to Tyler. On the westbound 91, you'll see delays continuing all the way through the Santa Ana Canyon towards the 241 toll road. KFI, this guy helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Pagliocchini.
5:06 on your wake-up call. Karen Travers, busy day ahead for you. You'll be covering the president finally signing that $1.2 trillion infrastructure package.
It is a very busy day, but it's a day that the White House has been looking forward to all year. You know, the president campaigned on this infrastructure proposal. This took months to negotiate and then took a while to get to the finish line. The president waited a week and a half after the House did pass this infrastructure bill because he wanted to have members of Congress there at the White House with him. So he's welcoming here today Democrats and Republicans who worked on this bill, got it across the finish line in a big splashy signing ceremony today on the South Lawn.
Okay, now let's put the needle on the record for that. Some Republicans, because several of them who voted for the bill won't be there. Why is that?
You know, I think a lot of it is optics. Yes, you voted for it. Yes, you're going to tout the fact that this is significant investment in the nation's infrastructure, even in their districts or states. But that doesn't mean they want a photo op with President Biden, something that could be potentially used against them during the campaign season. And Mitch Mcconnell is one of the 19 Republicans in the Senate who voted for the infrastructure bill. He said last week in an interview that he was glad it passed. This is good money, but he's got better things to do, other things to do, and come to the White House for the signing ceremony.
Now, is this enough, or is this too little too late when it comes to the president's approval rating?
Well, you know, the White House will say that they're just getting started on this. But for the last couple of months, this has been a very wonky process. A lot of ugly sausage making and negotiations and things getting cut and all of that. That's how legislation works. Now, though, they're hoping that the president can hit the road and sell what's actually in the bill once he signs this. He was in Baltimore last week talking about ports. He's going to be in New Hampshire tomorrow and then Detroit on Wednesday. All part of this effort to tie him to policies that polls keep showing people like. This is striking in our new ABC News Washington Post poll. The president has a record low job approval rating. Just 41% of Americans approve of the job he's doing. But 63% say they support the infrastructure bill he's signing today. 58% say they support the social spending bill that's still being worked out right now among Democrats. The challenge for the White House is to get people who like what the president is signing to then like the president for signing it. That's a tricky political challenge, though.
That's very interesting. They like what he's doing, but they don't necessarily like him.
And they don't necessarily maybe connect him to these things that on paper they're like, yes, I like fixing roads and bridges and ports, and yes, I like the idea of universal pre-K, and all these things that people hear about in these bills, But then, do you like how President Biden is doing right now? No. So that's what the White House has to work on. They want to get political mileage out of this right now. Can they? We'll see over the coming weeks.
I want a psychiatrist to dig deep into that. That's good.
Right.
All right. So the president is meeting with President Xi today of China, but virtually, is it?
Virtual meeting. It's a conversation that they'll be having on screen. She has not left China during COVID. She wasn't at the G20 summit in Rome last month. She wasn't at the climate summit in Scotland earlier this month. So this will be the third time that the presidents have talked since Mr. Biden took office. But the White House is saying they expect this meeting to go several hours. Starts tonight around 7:45 our time.
All right. Karen, thanks so much for it.
Have a great day.
You too. See you later. ABC's Karen Travers. That's interesting. So they like what the president is doing, but do they not see him as the one who is doing it? Or, again, is it too little too late? They're like, yeah, okay, we think that you have some good ideas, but it takes too long to get there. So in the end, we don't give you credit for it. That's fascinating. All right, let's get back to some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. We've got nearly 200 countries signed on to what's being called the Glasgow Climate Pact. The agreement comes at the end of the UN Climate Summit in Scotland, where China was not. UN Climate Secretary Patricia Espinosa says the deal on its own won't limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, but it's a good compromise. She says it will enable more money to flow from rich countries to poor ones to help phase down the use of coal and other fossil fuels. Well, the South Coast Air Quality Management District has banned wood burning today in much of Southern California because of a forecast for high air pollution. It'll be in effect through midnight tonight. The ban applies to burning wood indoors and outdoors, plus manufactured fire logs made from wax or paper. Areas affected include non-desert parts of LA, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties, as well as Orange County. Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana says the best thing people who are now eligible for Medicare can do is take the time to get all the relevant information they can. The enrollment period is open for people 65 and older to choose a Medicare plan. Montana says there are many options and it's hard to come up with a game plan.
In the end, you find a good team, and I found a good team, and it makes it a lot easier, just like football. When you have a good team around you, the game gets a little bit easier.
Montana, who is now Medicare eligible himself, and I believe is doing the Medicare commercial, if I'm not mistaken, says the key to finding the right plan is to getting good advice from a healthcare professional you can trust. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon is expected to turn himself in. He's been indicted by a federal grand jury for contempt of Congress. He ignored a subpoena to testify before the House committee investigating the Capitol riot and refused to hand over the documents. The House cited Bannon for contempt, and the matter was then referred to the Justice Department. If you remember as well, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows last week also refused to answer a subpoena to the January 6th committee. So I'm sure he'll be watching today very closely. Fountain Valley has been struggling to find a way to deal with a homeless woman who is camping in Miles Square Park.
A jury acquitted Nancy Wood on several misdemeanor park violations, agreeing with the defense that the state of shelter and services in the city and county left her with nowhere else to go. City manager Rob Houston says before Wood was cited for the first time in 2020, the city had contacted her 15 times to offer shelter options and services. But Houston says the woman adamantly refused and insisted she had a right to stay in the park. Houston says a judge in a separate civil trial ruled Wood is a public nuisance and ordered her to leave the park, but the woman continues to violate that court order. A lawyer for Wood says the civil judgment will be appealed. In Orange County, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
A new poll by the COVID-19 Vaccine Education and Equity Project shows 2/3 of parents with kids aged 5 to 11 say they are likely to get them vaccinated. Pfizer's kids vaccine has been authorized by the CDC and FDA, and immediate past president of the Academy of Family Physicians, Dr. Ada Stewart, says there's no reason not to get kids vaccinated.
And this is the easiest way to keep your child safe. It's the easiest way for us to stop the spread of COVID-19.
She says the vaccines are proven to be safe and effective in young kids. Human remains found in a forest in Northern California have been identified as a man reported missing more than 15 years ago. The Mendocino County Sheriff's Department has confirmed the remains are those of David Neely, who was 69 when he was last seen in the town of Albion, that's on the coast, in 2006. All right, here's the deal. If you're asked to leave for being unruly, punching someone probably isn't going to help your case.
Dallas police have arrested a woman for assaulting a Southwest Airlines employee during boarding for a flight from Dallas to New York's LaGuardia Airport. Ariel Jean Jackson has been told to leave the plane for unruly behavior before she punched a Southwest employee in the head. Police say they arrested the 33-year-old Saturday afternoon at Love Field, and she's charged with aggravated assault. A Southwest spokesman says the employee Jackson hit was taken to a hospital and released Saturday night. Mark Ron, KFI News.
What are we doing? Why are we punching flight attendants? I've never, occasionally you meet a snippy flight attendant. Occasionally. And I think to myself, I would not be happy if that was my job all day, was dealing with me. And 200 other people like me every freaking flight, right? And they may not even agree with the different things that they have to tell you to do, whether it be masks or, I don't know, don't smoke in the laboratory or don't bring your own booze on board or whatever. Maybe they don't like those rules either. Do we need to punch them? No. There is no. The answer is no. So can we all make a pact this morning? Nobody is going to assault a flight attendant anymore.
On the road.
Wake up call, true deal. Everybody want a high five on it? High five. Okay, good. All right, when we come back, if you are looking to book a flight for Thanksgiving, good luck. We are apparently flying at the same level we were before the pandemic. Oh, hey, Apple wants to put out a new digital ID card, right? But now it wants taxpayers to pick up the tab. And I'll tell you why you might not find some big discounts on name brands at discount chain stores, like the places I shop, like the Marshalls and the TJ Maxxes. This is not good. I'll explain why. Also